If you absolutely love the Pottery Barn aesthetic, but can't quite figure out how to bring it to life in your bedroom, you are going to love today's video because I'm sharing 23 Pottery Barn decorating secrets for your bedroom. And the best part is, this has nothing to do with buying any product. You could buy it from Pottery Barn, you can buy it from elsewhere, but this really is about the tips and tricks that are really gonna make a difference in your design. Tip number one has to do with the type of bed that you choose. In the Pottery Barn style, which is very coastal, it's very earthy, we want to have a wooden bed. So a nice light wood tone, a dark wood tone, a black wood tone, it doesn't matter. Our beds are wooden. And if they're not wooden, they have upholstery, but they do have a wooden component. Whether that is an exposed wooden leg, maybe they have like wooden trim, it doesn't matter. There is some element of wood because we have to have that organic element in our bed. Now, I know lots of us, we already have a bed when we're trying to accomplish this, so it's okay if we don't have that, but we're gonna wanna make up for that lack of wood in our bed in other items of our home, so just keep that in mind as we work through today's video. And when we're choosing this bed, we're not going to choose a bed that is super low profile. In the Pottery Barn aesthetic, it is actually a design style that caters more to people that are a little bit older, which honestly I love because the furniture is just so much more practical, but for that reason, the furniture isn't super low profile. So we're gonna get a bed that has a little bit of height to it. The headboard is going to be at least normal height, if not tall, and the actual bed itself is going to sit a little bit higher than maybe you'd see in a cloud bed or a bed from CB2 or any other popular retailers right now. Now, once we have chosen our bed, we need to think next about our nightstands. So tip number two has to do with picking those nightstands, and we want to make sure that our nightstands have some sort of open component. So when you're choosing a nightstand, you can either choose nightstands that sit flat on the floor, or we can choose a nightstand with legs. In this Pottery Barn aesthetic, we're more inclined to choose one that has legs. Again, if we're having that tall bed, we also want to have a nightstand that is tall so that we can reach out and reach the things on our nightstands without having to reach up too high or lean down too low, because that's going to cause a hazard, right? We're going to drop something, we're going to push something over, it's going to be a disaster. And if we don't have a nightstand that has legs, we're still going to have some sort of open component. So maybe that'll be a cutout drawer in the bottom, or a cutout in the top and a drawer below. And it doesn't have to be completely exposed. So there can be some sort of back, but there is going to be some open component where we can put books, we can put baskets, we can put some type of decor. And along with that, we're not going to leave that space empty. We are going to decorate it. So we're going to put boxes, we're going to put books, we're going to put planters, we're going to put something that helps reify our design style. The next tip when it comes to nightstands is we're going to follow that rule of three. Now, we talk about this rule all the time. I'm not going to go over it deeply, but you want to make sure we have the groupings of three. And in Pottery Barn, we're going to heavily style. So I know when I say the group of three, we just like odd groupings. So you could go with the one item. We're not going to go with one item. We're going to have three items. And in this design style, you want to have a lighting option, a decorative option, and then a floral option. So two out of the three things, we already know what they're going to be. It's going to be a light and it's going to be a plant. The third item is going to be whatever you choose. Maybe a family photo, a candle, it doesn't matter. But that third item is the only item that's kind of up for grabs when it comes to styling our Pottery Barn aesthetic. And I almost forgot to mention that when you are selecting your florals in your bedroom, maybe not on your nightstand florals, but you definitely want to have eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is something that you see a lot at Pottery Barn in particular. You see the olive trees and then you see the eucalyptus. The olive tree just looks nice, but the eucalyptus is actually really great for your air. And it has like those soothing properties that you think of in like a Vicks Vapor Rub. They actually just use eucalyptus for babies when babies can't have Vicks Vapor Rub and menthol yet. Eucalyptus is great for opening up your sinuses and helping you breathe better. So it's really great to incorporate that into your bedroom. So you will see that a lot in this Pottery Barn style. I'm going to stop labeling tips because I'm going to get the tip numbers confused and I'm going to get upset with myself. So the numbers will just be up on the screen. But the next tip has to do with choosing that lamp. Even though we're doing that rule of three, we're doing some really heavy styling on those nightstands. We're going to have a bulbous lamp. We're not gonna have any skinny lamps, like we're not having any Barbie lamps. We're having Cabbage Patch doll lamps. I don't know why that's the analogy I've decided to go with, but they're going to be big, they're going to be bulbous, they are going to be almost like a vase lamp. So we want to go big. When I'm choosing lamps like this for my clients and I'm not sourcing them directly from Pottery Barn, I'm gonna go to Kirkland's. I'm going to look at the brand Mark and Day. I will put a bunch of lamps that kind of check off this box down in the description box and on the carousel here for you to shop. If you're looking for them, you can't figure out where to find them, don't worry, I've done the work for you. But we want something more bulbous, a little bit more sculptural. And when it comes to choosing the type of lampshade that's going to go on that lamp, we're going to have a tapered lampshade. We're not going to have a round one. We're not going to have those basic shades. We're not going to have a shade like we see back here. It is going to be tapered. So it's going to come almost to a point at the top. Again, it's very amber interiors. It's very organic. And that's just the style we see again and again and again with Pottery Barn. So that's what we want to do with our nightstands as well. Now, before I get more into styling, because I'm gonna go on about styling, I wanna talk to you about what's going on the floor first, because we're gonna put a rug down before we do any of this other stuff, because all this other stuff is heavy. So this is gonna be way easier. When we are choosing a rug for this room, the rug is going to be a unifier, much like I said in episode 1. And again, if you haven't seen that video yet, click here to go check out Pottery Barn secrets for your living room. But in the bedroom, we're choosing a really plain rug, a light rug, a jute rug, something that really brightens up the floor, because in this Pottery Barn style, we want the rooms to be as light and as airy as possible. And that's even gonna be the case if you live, like, you know, in the Pacific Northwest where it's really, really gloomy. It's gonna be the same if you're living in a room that has no windows. We still want it to be as light and airy as possible, so brightening the floor is going to make that happen. So that's what I've been doing this room. I'm putting down a jute light rug. If you are going to do a rug that has some type of pattern, it's still gonna be a faded oriental, an oriental rug that is very, very light in tone. It is going to be a light rug. Never, ever, ever will you see a dark rug in one of the rooms unless you're going for a proper Persian rug, but that is not something that they do very often in bedrooms. Now let's move back to those nightstands. So when we are deciding what to put above our nightstands, there are many, many options. So option number 1 is we're not going to do much of anything. We're gonna have that really beautifully styled nightstand like we've already talked about, and leave it alone. If we're gonna add a little bit of something, we're probably going to add some artwork or some family photos above the nightstands. So if we're doing family photos, you're more than likely going to see square frames. Again, I'm sharing my favorite ones down below. I know you're probably like, well, Kiva, where do I get them? Don't worry, because I am your expert in smart shopping and timeless style. So I've done the work for you. I've got you covered. Don't worry. But we're gonna go with square frames. We're gonna do black, we're gonna do a walnut, we're gonna do a light oak, and we're gonna put family photos in there. If we're not gonna do family photos, we're going to do art, and we're gonna do that kind of like gallery wall style. So we're gonna have them, you know, kind of placed off center a little bit, and that's just gonna go over one nightstand. If we're doing the family photos or the square frames, they're going to be symmetrical. If we're gonna go for more of the gallery wall style, we're actually going to do it on one side, and on the other side, we're going to do asymmetrical balance, and we're going to achieve that with some large overflowing greenery. So I know I told you we were gonna have greenery on both nightstands, but in this case, you might have something small, maybe even like the faux artichokes you see behind me on one nightstand, and then on the other nightstand, we're going to see something large and overflowing, almost taking up the same height visually as that gallery wall we just created. So even though we're doing something different on each side, we're still creating that visual balance, because balance is paramount to a beautifully and restfully designed space. So something you're probably saying is, well, what about the double mirrors? We see that all the time in like the restoration hardwares, the CB2s. That's true, but that's not the style we're trying to achieve. So while you might see that in other design styles, that's not what we want to do here. And if you're like, well, I can't part with it, Kiva, I have to do that, then I want you to do a window pane style mirror, not a standard mirror. But I promise you don't need the mirrors on either side of your bed. We're gonna use a mirror a little bit later on, so be sure to stay tuned for that. If you're still feeling like the area above your nightstands is bare, we can also add sconces, kind of just like in between the nightstand and the bed. So we have those table lamps, but we have sconces as well to take up some space and to promote illumination in the bedroom, so that we don't have to get out of bed and turn the lights on when it's time to go to bed. As I said, Pottery Barn kind of gears itself towards a generation where we're reading, right? We're reading before bed. We aren't just staring in front of the TV before bed, which I love. So we need more lighting options. We need more layered lighting to make being in bed a little bit more functional. Now let's talk about what we're putting above our bed. So above our bed, you're gonna see either a large piece or a set of 2 pieces or a set of 3 pieces. We're not doing anything more than that. We're not doing a huge gallery wall. And when it comes to the content of that artwork, we're going to see a charcoal drawing, we're going to see an abstract landscape, we're going to see a watercolor or something like that. Or if we are doing something a little bit more abstract, it's going to be abstract in earth tones and the cooler, more inviting earth tones. So the blues and the greens, not as much like the red and things like that, because we want our bedrooms to feel very serene. And so think about the colors that maybe you'd see in a spa: blue, green, those really relaxing earth tones that we look out for when we're sitting in front of a window, when we're on vacation. So we're gonna see that in our artwork as well. So when you're looking online, I say go on Etsy, get watercolor prints. I will share my favorite Etsy shops down below for sourcing this artwork. And you can just print them at your local store and they get frames from an IKEA or any of the other resources that I've listed for you. But above the bed, we're not really doing portraiture. We're not doing something super dark. We're not doing any gilt frames. We're getting a frame that kind of matches the wood tone of our bed and our nightstands, as I said before. So a light oak, a walnut, or we can do black. And as I stated in the last video, the metal that Pottery Barn likes to use is black metal. You're gonna see a lot of black metal, and then you also see brass, but black and black wood is always really, really safe for your accents. Now that we have decorated above the bed and beside the bed, let's talk about what's going on the bed, because dare I say, decorating your bed is the most powerful way to bring about and really capture the essence of a design style. So this is probably the most important part of the video. So if you're only peripherally listening right now, it's time to lock in. So when we're styling our bed, there are multiple ways that Pottery Barn does it, and I'm gonna walk you through them. First, we could do option number one, where we're gonna have 3 Euro shams on a king size bed. Then we're gonna have our standard sleeping pillow, so 2 on our king size bed. And then we're going to have some type of accent pillow, so an XL lumbar or something like that, or just a square pillow, maybe a 24 by 24 in a fun print. But it's always going to be a print. It's always gonna be a fun color. It's not going to be white. We're not gonna have white in our accent pillow. And our Euro pillows may be white, but the shams on our bed pillows, they're going to match the quilt that we put on the bed. And we'll talk about our quilts a little bit later on, because quilts are paramount in this design style. Now, if we're not going to style our bed in the way that I just outlined, we are going to stack our bed pillows. So we're gonna have two sets of king pillows. So 2 stacked on top of each other on each side. One set is gonna be white, and then the other set is going to match our quilt, as I mentioned before. And then in front, we're gonna do a set of 3 statement pillows. So 2 square pillows and maybe a lumbar, or we'll do an extra large lumbar or something like that. And then option number 3 is we're gonna have our stacked pillows. We're gonna have those 2 sets of pillows layered in front of one another. Then we're gonna have 3 26 by 26 or 3 24 by 24, and then a small lumbar. So there are many different varieties of pillow layering you can do, but pillows are super important in this design style. And you wanna bring new patterns, new textures, fringe, things like that. Have fun with it when you're selecting your pillows. Then we are going to have some type of quilt, and that quilt, it doesn't have to be a fun color. It can still be white, but it has to incorporate some type of new pattern or new texture. And then we're gonna have our duvet and our duvet cover, and that duvet is going to be folded down so that it's folded down once, and then you fold it back halfway up on itself. I'll put an example up on the screen so that it gets that really nice fluffy bulbous kind of layer that Pottery Barn is known for, without having to double step your duvet cover. And then on top of that, you might even add another quilt depending upon where you live. And if you're not adding another quilt, that's fine, but we're also going to add a throw with or without that additional quilt. It doesn't matter how you choose to style your bed, any of these options I just outlined for you, you want to make sure that your bed is really well steamed. This is where I'm gonna use my vacuum steamer. I'm gonna use Start. You don't want any wrinkles in this bedding. This bedding is all about having a really nice crisp look, even if you're dealing with linen. So keep that in mind when styling your space. Now let's talk about curtains, because curtains are incredibly important, or just like window coverings in general, or window treatments in general. So we're going to hang our curtains high and wide like we always do. And when it comes to the metal that we're using for curtain rods, as I said, metal or brass, you can even do a polished nickel if you want to. It doesn't really matter. Just be consistent with the metal that you use in your home. And then in terms of materials, we're going to use a cotton. We're going to use a linen. We're not really going to use velvet too much. And we're going to stick to the whites, the ivories, the taupes. And then green and blue are also safe options, but we're not really exploring more colors than those ones. And oftentimes you'll also see like a double layer. So you'll have a layer of sheers that are just white, and then you'll have a more solid blackout layer on a double bracket, and it has the more solid colors. So you can have some light coming through with the sheers, but still having privacy, or you can close it entirely and have that nice blackout feel in your bedroom. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, aren't we done? Haven't we mastered the Pottery Barn style? Almost. The next thing we are going to do is that we're going to have our dresser. And in the Pottery Barn style, having a matching furniture set isn't really a bad thing. You can still have a matching furniture set if you want to, but if you don't want to do that, that's fine. We just want to stay in the same undertone of wood. So if we're doing like a cool wood tones, we want to have more cool wood tones, but we're not going to do like a light oak and then a cherry wood. They're going to clash with one another. So keep keep that in mind when selecting your dresser. Above your dresser, this is where we're going to have maybe a gallery wall, but a rigid gallery wall. So they're going to be in columns and in rows. They're not going to be randomly placed. We could also have a 2-piece set, a 3-piece set. We could also have one large piece and the artwork layered in front, because layering is huge in the Pottery Barn style, and we have spoken about this before. But we're gonna definitely do some layering of artwork and decor, but we also want to leave space in the middle for practical items, like maybe you didn't put away your clothes yet or something like that. So we're gonna have the decor on the periphery of the dresser, and we're gonna leave the middle part open. We'll probably have some layered art, another source of light, maybe candles on one side, and then some greenery on the other side, but we're leaving that middle part nice and open. Now, when you're selecting artwork to go on the wall, you're probably matting your artwork, and you should, because mats really help sell the look. But in the Pottery Barn aesthetic, the bigger the mat, the better. So you don't want that little itty bitty 1-inch mat. If you can get like an 8-inch mat, I know it probably sounds insane. That's what we want to do. We actually want our art to be almost as small as possible. This is not like a, oh, Kiva thinks this is the thing to do. This is just what they do. And the art is a little bit smaller. This is when I would definitely get a gallery wall set art off of Etsy, and then like the Santa head frames from IKEA. Perfect for this because the mats are ginormous. But I will share some other ones down below as well. But big mats, small artwork, that's where you're really gonna pack your punch. And if you wanted to add a picture light, you could, but you'll just probably get by just fine with that lamp on the side. And last but not least, we're gonna add a little bit more greenery. We're gonna have a real faux tree in the corner with a nice rustic vase. And then we're also going to add some type of mirror. So a window pane mirror, a frameless mirror, just some type of mirror on the wall opposite the windows to help reflect that light and make the space as open and as light and bright and airy as humanly possible. But that's it for today's video. You now know how to craft your dream Pottery Barn bedroom. I think that if you follow, I know, I was gonna say I think, but I know. If you follow the tips in today's video, the next time you walk into your bedroom, you're gonna be like, wow, is this a Pottery Barn catalog? Who am I? Am I a designer? And that's exactly how I want you to feel. And for links to any items that will help you achieve this look, just head down to my description box. I put together tons of lists for you, and I did tons of research to serve as resources for you, but you also don't need to shop them at all. The only reason they're there is to help, so bypass them if you want to. Let me know down in the comments which tip was most helpful for you, and let me know what other stores you want me to cover in this capacity. If you liked today's video, please consider smashing that subscribe button and hitting that like button, because it lets me know to keep creating content like this. And until next time, have a beautiful day.